Hi everyone, and can you believe it? We're in May 2024. Spring Forward is our theme and topic for the podcast in the hub, and this is episode 28. So if you are watching on YouTube, please put a comment below or subscribe to our channel above. And if you are watching on any other forms such as Facebook communities or listening through Anchor, Google Play and Apple Play, do make sure you are commenting, liking, sharing and subscribing too. So as you know, the opportunity with the Hub podcast is to learn from an expert, and we do have an expert for you today for episode 28. So we've been talking about mindset and the objections we create within ourselves when we think about money in the business and our finances. And sometimes we are our own worst enemy. I'm sure you've heard me describe it before through Katie Ford, who I believe is episode 10 in our podcast series. So do go and check it out. And we talk about the gremlin on the shoulder. And when that gremlin appears, then, we kind of get stuck. And this happens a lot when we're trying to generate leads for our businesses. And a lot of experts call it money mindset. And I just like to call it getting stuck in the mud because it's important that we understand what techniques we have within ourselves to help us feel unstuck and move forward and generate the desired income for our businesses. So we've invited an expert today, which is the lovely Zoe from Humanship UK Limited. So I'm just going to hand you over to Zoe now to introduce herself and her experience and expertise. So Zoe, take it away for our listeners.
Hi there. It's lovely to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Zoe. So I'm also Zoe Saari. My company is Humanship UK Limited. We're a not-for-profit organisation and we offer therapy, coaching and equine-assisted learning and development. I have been a therapist for 20 years and a coach for pretty much that long as well, but I'm also a positive psychologist. So I have a master's degree in applied positive psychology and coaching psychology. And as a positive psychologist, I tend to work a lot more with people's strengths, what they're good at, what their successes have been, and then apply that information to help them overcome challenges that they're experiencing in their current life, whether that's financial, whether that's emotional, whether it's in business or personal life. It can be applied to every area of life, really.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes you unique. I know that's what really stood out to me when I first met you many moons ago before we started working together in terms of that positive outlook and focusing on the positives rather than the negatives. And I think that's a lot to do with when we feel unstuck. We are focusing on the negative rather than the positive to help us move forward in that situation. And money, let's face it, guys, is the bloodline to any business. But sometimes, we attract it, and sometimes, if we're honest with ourselves, we're detracting it because of how we currently see ourselves at that point in time in our business with the money mindset. Would you agree with that, Zoe? What's your experience with money mindset working with potential business owners?
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally agree. I think some of that is about how we're feeling about ourselves and how we're feeling within the business. I think there's an important point to make about negative and positive in regards to, we shouldn't ignore the negatives because I think that's important. But sort of putting, how do I put this? I think focusing on the positive is a great thing to do, and understanding that there are positives to notice, but also accepting that there's negatives and accepting that there's challenges is important. Businesses go through phases. They go through phases of wealth and lack, and that's just part of life, right? And business ownership. And I think that's important to understand. Just because you might be in an area of lack right now doesn't mean that it can't change or won't change in the future. I also think that how we feel about ourselves within our business and how we're driving that business forward and how we're feeling about the business itself can also attract or detract wealth. There's an important point in regards to our self-awareness and how we are experiencing our own mindset about money. Some
Yeah.
people are programmed really well around money. They have a lot of experience with financial advice, good financial advice from their parents. They're taught about money from an early age, and they are good at sort of managing those things. And other people are taught that money's, not important, and that people are important, and that material wealth isn't as important as having friends and family
Yeah.
around you and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're all programmed around money in a particular way.
Yeah. So would you say that starts from really a young age in terms of, the programming? Because a lot of people say to me, I just can't seem to get unstuck. I always get unstuck, then I come back to this point when it's to do with money mindset or, imposter syndrome or feeling, negative towards the business, whatever that be for you and our listeners. I'm sure you can all resonate with, we've all felt like that from time to time. But what I'll always say to my clients is if we keep coming back to it, it's a problem we need to potentially look to address and see if we've got, skills and tools in the toolkit, so to speak, to kind of come unstuck. And if not, why not? And I've noticed it tends to stem from, past experiences that we feel the way we do. Would you agree in terms of that kind of wealth mindset? Does that really start from a young age in your experience?
Yeah, totally. Totally. I mean, for myself personally, I grew up very much with a parent who told me that money didn't really matter that much, and it was people and material wealth wasn't important, and friends and family were the key.
Yeah.
Which I totally agree with, actually. I'm not in disagreement with that. But I think and then there was a period of time when I was really good with money, and I looked after my money. I was earning a good wage, and I put money away every month, and I owned my own property. And this was sort of in my early to mid 20s. And there was a lot of, Zoe says she's skint, but she's probably still got over £1,000 in the bank. Like that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
So from my own experience, I understand that, we are programmed in a particular way around money, and certainly have had a lot of clients in the past who really become sort of really confused about what they should be experiencing around money. Like, is it okay to have money? Isn't it okay?
Yeah.
What's the right thing to ask for? What am I worth? I don't really understand what I'm worth, or
Yeah.
asking for money is a real challenge for me. I've had this a lot with different people in different types of businesses. I really find it a challenge to ask people to pay me, and I don't know how much to ask for because because they don't understand the wealth that they have. And this is where the
Yeah.
positive psychology thing can come in really useful, because when you look at everything that you've done to get to this point, all the successes you've had, all the challenges you've overcome, all of the experience that you've got, all of the learning that you've
Yeah.
achieved, and the ongoing learning that you're achieving, and what that's worth in regards to the amount of time and effort that you've put in to become an expert in your field and an
Yeah.
expert in your business. And I think that's really important as well, in order to kind of focus on those things and think about, well, okay, yes, money can be a challenge, and I'm not really sure how I feel about it. But when I look at the things that I've done in order to get to this point, what is the value of that?
Yeah, definitely. And it's, I'll always say, as you know, Zoe, knowledge is power and awareness is key. And when you identify kind of where them trends come from and why we feel that way towards money or wealth, or it's whatever's causing that kind of stick in the mud moment, we can resolve it. So for example, I know we've shared this before in terms of money, but I was brought up in a council house with working class mum, working class dad. My dad very much had the mindset from his father in terms of if it's in my pocket, I spend it. If it's not in my pocket, I don't. So my dad was never in debt.
Yeah,
Never in the whole duration of his life was he in debt, but by God did he have pockets of money everywhere because he liked to save, because that is what my granddad instilled in him in terms of save for any occasion. Whereas my mum was brought up in a household which was very different, and she was built, and still is, if you've got it, spend it. You can't take it with you. And I'm very conflicted because of them two, points of view in my upbringing. Because yes, I do like to save, and I feel guilty when I buy myself something. But then I've got, I suppose, my mum on the other shoulder saying you can't take it with you, Zoe. So, and that's the same in business. If I don't have steady income coming in, I feel very nervous, and I very much do not spend. I like put my heels in. If you think of horses when they're
Yeah.
trying to stop, when they're racing, I put my hooves in the ground and I do not move. But it takes other people to remind me that it is okay to spend, it is okay to reward yourself, and to pat yourself on your own back. So I think it's important to like identify that and understand that even as experts in our fields, that we come from that, lived experience and taking the positive aspect to it to come unstuck. And I think, the more you realize that, Rome wasn't built in a day, guys. We're
No.
not going to overcome these sticking points in a day. It's about getting people like Zoe to come and help you if you really feel like that this is where you really feel stuck at the moment, or Katie, on the soul and the mindset point of view. These ladies really know the stuff. So if you're listening to this and you think, yeah, I need more positivity in my life, I can definitely recommend, speaking to an expert like Zoe. And because one thing I have learned in business, and I'm sure you'll agree, Zoe, is we're not an expert in everything, and we do need to understand where we need the support and where we don't. And it's the most cost effective and efficient way of business development and moving your business forward. So if someone is listening to this at the moment, Zoe, and thinking this is resonating with me because I'm feeling stuck at the moment, or I'm feeling that I've not got enough wealth in the business or money or income coming in the business, is there a tip you can share with your 20 years of experience? If they were to sit in front of you right now, what's the one thing you would share with them first on how they can potentially look at this a different way or move forward in the business?
So my top tips for anything really is to think about how you feel. How do you feel about it? What is it that's holding you back? What are your feelings telling you? Because it's our emotions that drive our behaviors. And I think when you can sort of sit with that feeling and really think about how you feel about money, what are the conflicts between those two things? Because like you said, there's confusion, there's conflict. There's often this kind of, oh, well, I need money, but is it okay to have the money? Am I worth it? So thinking about that, and then really asking yourself the questions around what you need. Mm-hmm. There's a lot around our own personal needs and the business's needs, and whether those two things are aligned. Mm-hmm. So, and that can create sticking points and getting stuck mm-hmm. in our way that we move the business forward. So what are your needs, and are the business's needs aligned with that? Mm-hmm. And if not, what can you do to bring those two things together in order for you to be able to move forward? So thinking about how you're feeling. How do I feel about money? What is it that's holding me back? Is it because I don't think I'm worthy of being paid for what I do? Is it because of imposter phenomenon or something like that that's holding me back? Or is it because my needs and the business's needs are not aligned? And or is it a combination of both of those things? Yeah. And when you kind of get into the answers to those questions, then that can help you get you a clearer view of where you need to move to and what it is that you need to do next in order to get you unstuck.
Yeah, I agree. And just a bit of a top tip, what helped me, guys, with this topic is journaling. When Zoe's sharing about, finding the answer to these questions, sometimes, even when we write down the question, we don't necessarily know the answer straight away. So kind of journaling and exploring that question in different varieties is important, because when you read back on it, you'll probably see a familiarity and a different perspective that you might have not looked at it that way before without getting thoughts down on paper. So it's important to ask these questions, but also document it. Because you're creating your pathway, and you will know by the amount of stuff that you write down whether you do need external support like Zoe, or you can do it on a kind of do it yourself journey and level for a period of time. Honestly, journaling, I always say journaling saved my life, and it really did from a young age to now in business. Put it down on paper, guys, because trust me, that works. And I would add, in terms of my own top tip, which was shared with me, and we put it within the Hub community. So for anyone who is listening to this and hasn't heard of the Hub community before, that is something that we offer as additional value to our clients, and put experts in front of our clients to help them with something that they are wanting to learn more about every month, i.e. finances and mindset, was for the topic of April, and we're moving into a new topic conversation such as sales and lead generation, because they do go hand in hand for the month of May. And it's something that we shared literally just beginning of this week of this podcast being recorded, and it's about what someone shared with me called Michael Bridge. And he said, if you're ever in doubt, ask yourself, when have I ever not delivered? So he was talking about value and the value you provide to the business, which ties in with Zoe's questions that you can ask yourself in that top tip. And that was because I was struggling with saying that I guarantee a return on investment. Yes, I do, but there's a clause with that if you work with me long term, because we build a relationship and we get you to where you want to be. And he said, if you worked with someone on a 12-month basis, have you ever not achieved that? And I said, well, no. I said, the only time I don't know if I've achieved it, if someone just takes the strategy, because at the end of the day, it's not me to tell them where to invest their money. They've got to make that decision themselves. Very much going back to what Zoe said, with the need over the wants within the business. Because I will say this, yes, people buy on the want, but if the need's not there and they're not comfortable, they will never buy the want. So it's important to really think about what Zoe's just shared there on the podcast, to make sure you are, within that place of need and comfortable, and we're feeling comfortable before, we're moving forward with the wants within our business. Anyway, I digress. Michael Bridge, basically. Yeah,
can I just add to that? So I think it's important as well to have a team of people around you, and that support is really important. So whether that's external people that you're employing to help you, like you, Zoe, or myself, or whether that's a team of people that you've already got within your business that are there to support you and help to drive the business forward. I think it's really important to understand that support system is invaluable in regards to the decisions that you're making when you're moving forward. Having people that are asking you the right questions, that have your back, that are telling you, yes, it's okay to be in a challenging time. It's okay to feel like this at the moment. What can we do to move forward? And just having those sort of conversations within that community that you have around you in order to get the answers to the questions, as well as asking them of yourself. One of the exercises that I do with some of my clients is to ask them to go to people that they trust and ask them to give them feedback on what they're doing in whichever area of life that happens to be that they want to work on. Different people come to me to work on all kinds of areas of their life. So for business, for example, you might want to go to sort of 3 people that you really trust and ask them for feedback on what they think that you are doing within your business well, and what they think that you might be able to improve on. And again, that can help you just sort of build a bit of a structure around whether or not you are moving in the direction, whether the needs are met and aligned, and all of those kinds of things, and how that makes you feel. So how you feel within yourself and how you're reacting to that feedback can also give you a great deal of information.
Yeah, I agree, because it really ties into, I think, the overall point Michael was making to me about, reflection is looking back and
Mm.
asking for that feedback. Have you ever not achieved that? Because when that imposter syndrome sits in and we think, oh, we're not worthy of that amount of money, when we can't be saying that in our businesses, ultimately, why not? If that is what you are delivering and
Yeah.
that is what your peers are feeding back. So 100%, I do think that's crucial, and a key takeaway from this podcast episode, ladies and gents, that, if you're not asking for feedback, that can really help you get unstuck as well, because, the people you're speaking to should be the people you trust, because ultimately, that that's why you're asking for their feedback, isn't it? We
Yeah,
don't really
yeah.
ask for
You
feedback.
need people that are going to give you an honest response. So they've got to be
Yeah,
people that you trust to give you an honest response, because there might be things that you might cringe at, that you kind
yeah,
of think, oh, I didn't really want to hear that, or I didn't really want to know that. But that's some of the best feedback you can get, really. The bits that kind of give you that reaction are the bits that kind of really give you the most insight into how you feel and what you're doing and whether that
yeah.
feels right and whether your needs are being met.
Yeah, 100%. We had it literally in a one-to-one last week, and this lady was giving me feedback on. She wanted my feedback, so she was giving me the feedback on the business and why she was feeling quite muddled at the moment. And at the end, she just went, "Well, I can tell you've got something to say." And I said, "You're going to confuse your market. If you tell them you can do everything, what actually are you an expert in, and what actually is it that you do?" Because I'm only going to remember one thing.
Yeah.
And above anything in marketing and business, we're always taught in the books. But I can tell you, you've got to keep it simple, because that's ultimately what people will remember and keep in the forefront of their mind when they're talking about you in the room when you're not there. And if that person can't tell others who you are, what you do, and how you help them, then ultimately they will never come into that conversation to learn more. So 100%, get the feedback from those that you trust and do something with that feedback ultimately. But hopefully this episode has helped you with the topic of money mindset and why you may be feeling unstuck at the moment. So if anyone is listening to this and thinking, actually, I do want to speak to someone, completely confidential, that's trusted within, the Ask Zoe network and Hub community. Guys, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Go and have a conversation with Zoe. But how would they get in contact if they wanted to do so? What's coming up at the moment and how would they get in touch?
So probably at the moment, the best thing to do is to drop me an email. So my email address is connect@humanshipuk.org. Yeah, just drop me an email and we can have a discovery call, just have a chat completely free of charge, just to find out where you're at and what your needs are, and go from there.
Amazing. And guys, if you can do that and put hashtag hub in the subject line so Zoe knows where you have heard of her expertise, that would be really appreciated on a marketing point of view, so Zoe can understand how you've heard about her services and how she can help you through this episode. So this brings episode 28 to a close. Just a big thank you again to Zoe and for our listeners for staying tuned, and hopefully this helps you get unstuck in business and helps you think about money mindset a different way. As mentioned, the following month is all about sales and lead generation, and we have Ian Genius from Ingenious, who is the sales expert and helps you boost and supercharge, as he would call it, or turbo boost if you know Ian, your sales in a positive way. So really looking forward to bringing you episode 29 later this month. But for now, thanks again, Zoe. Do go
Thank
and
you.
check her out, guys. Humanship UK Limited. She's on all the social media platforms, and do drop her an email with hashtag hub with your query or question, and she'll book in a call to help you that much more. And we'll see you next time, guys. And don't forget to subscribe to Ask Zoe 01 at YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, and Apple.
Thanks, Zoe.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Bye.